This is Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast, with your hosts, Brandon Spinner and Michael Burns.
And welcome into Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast. Michael is just joining us as I am Brandon. That is Michael. If this is your first time tuning in, we are a podcast that talks bourbon and baseball. We like to say high proof and high heat. Thanks for joining us. So if you're new to the program, welcome in. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all at Barrels and Barrels Pod. You may be watching this on our YouTube channel at BNB Pod, at Barrels and Barrels Pod. But we also have a secondary channel, which is just strictly bourbon related, and that is at BNB Bourbon. So you can go check us out over there if you haven't already. Subscribers almost up to 800 on the primary channel, but when it comes to the bourbon channel, we're really growing there. We started that a couple of weeks ago. We're already over 50 subscribers, which is pretty quick, and we're continuing to grow on views there. So go check us out over there if you're looking just strictly for bourbon. We'll get to our bourbon review here of this week in just a second. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, TikTok and Instagram. Man, it's been a rough start. We will only get better. X, Barrels and Barrels. And then you can also find us Apple, Spotify, as well as iHeart, Google, and Amazon Podcasts. Don't forget to hit the review button or the rating button. We're at 20 out of 25-star ratings on Apple, 14 out of 14 on Spotify. And if you leave a review, that's a text review, which we hope one of you listening will do. We'll read it out on the next podcast as we jump on air. Before we get any further, we've got merch to sell. We're not wearing the shirts, but we've got the hats, and you can go check those out through the link tree in our Instagram bio. Again, you can find us on Instagram at Barrels and Barrels Pod. We've got Glencairns as well as Whiskey Wisdom glasses for sale. I think there's only
how many wisdoms we got left?
I think we got two left. I've got a couple.
Speaking of two-ith,
yeah, and two-ith.
We also have two-ith glasses.
Yes. Did I say two-ith? I thought I said wisdom.
You said wisdom, and then you said we have two left, and I said speaking of two left.
Oh, clever.
We have two-iths.
Two-iths. But you can go head on over to our Instagram account and go buy those there. We also have T-shirts, which we'll show later off in the show. But if you want to buy those, go head on over to CharlieMikeNeverWeekend.com. You can get those right out the door, $25 shipped to you. And I'm not lying when I tell you it's one of the most comfortable, if not the most comfortable T-shirt that I own. I wear it too much that I have to wash it too much. That's the one issue there. But yes, thank you. Welcome in. This is episode 44. As I mentioned, we've got glassware, we've got T-shirts, we've got hats. We've also got stickers if you want to check those out as well. Head on over to our Instagram page if you haven't already. Without further ado, let's get into the bourbon. Yes. And before we do that, this segment is brought to you by Whiskey Towers, whiskeytowers.com. Use promo code Whiskey Weather, and that is going to get you 10% off. And what is a whiskey tower? Think of a beer tap for your whiskey.
Yes, it's absolutely perfect to put your everyday players in and just be able to pull from it way too easily than you're already pulling from the bottles as it is.
Mm-hmm. Whether you're making a cocktail, you're pouring something neat, or you're just looking to have a party where it's easier for some people.
Tap, right?
I've done that a couple times. Hey, just a little pour right in from the tap. So head on over to whiskeytowers.com. Use promo code, all capital, Whiskey Weather. It's scrolling there at the bottom of your screen, and you can get 10% off your order. And that is what the bourbon segment is sponsored this week. And this week we are going with one of the bigger releases every fall. It is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. This is going to be batch C923. And the big thing about this batch, do you know, is the years. This is supposedly the oldest batch that has ever been released, at least for barrel proof as a batch number. Now, they've had single barrels that they've given out that are older than this, but this comes in at 13 years and 7 months old, which they used to be 12 years. And until the B batch this year, they had all been 12 years. So the B batch this year was just under 12 at 11 and 6, I believe. And now this year's C batch, which it goes C923. C stands for the third one, distributed in the 9th month of the year, which is September. and the year is 2023. So this is one of those bigger and more sought after releases, and especially because of the 13-year, 7-month age statement, a lot of people have been snagging this. MSRP usually right around $69.99 to $80. I grabbed this one at Kentucky Bourbon Fest for right at that $79.99 price point. It has gone up a little bit, but you're getting 13-year-old whiskey at barrel proof for $80.
The sticker changed on that guy. Actually says the age statement on the front, where
it used to say it right here. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why I said the second one, batch B this year, was the first time they changed it. Yeah. So
I thought I had B for some reason.
We did. Did we not do a review on B? I know we did a review on A earlier this year. We may not have done B.
A.
But so 133 proof. That's 66.5 ABV. So
woo, doggy.
It's a hot one. So it's, I think, the hottest proof on an ECBP in the last 2 or 3 years, because last year's were all into the 120s, and the first 2 batches this year were under 130. That's for sure. So this one is a hotly contested and sought after bottle right now. I'm so lucky to grab this. And as always, this comes in from Heaven Hill with the same mash bill as always.
There it is.
78, 10, and 12. So this is a lower rye, higher malted barley mash. I didn't realize that until I was doing the research a couple months ago, and then I totally forgot about it until just now. And yeah, so this is one of my favorite releases every year. We tend to, and I think Elijah Craig might be my go-to bottle, honestly. Whether it's small batch, barrel proof, I've got 6 of the last.
In the past, it's not a super, it's not hot and doesn't torch the tongue. And it has the good flavor that comes through. It's not syrupy like the small batch could be.
Yeah.
This is an easy go-to usually.
Yeah. So I've given it a pour. Have you poured yours up yet and given it a nose?
I have it in my tooth. Yeah, my first nose is a little explosion there. It's very nosy.
Mm-hmm. Gonna sound weird. I get a little nail polish out of it. Nail polish remover. I love nail polish remover. I love nail polish remover.
You get notes for those that say, "Oh, I can't pick up notes. It just smells like alcohol." Try having someone else describe notes to you as you smell it, because that's how they'll start to come to you a little easier.
Did you get the nail polish right when I said?
Yes, that's why I said, "Oh," because it stunk. The first bomb to me was cherry.
Yep, I've got oak and cherry written down. Almost like a creme brulee too.
Oh yeah,
like creme brulee. If someone was writing these down, going, "How the hell did they get all these to combine and still think that this is fantastic?" You can definitely tell. You can get the proof on the nose. Like sometimes it doesn't totally come through, but the ethanol, I think, at least the heat from this, comes through for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it. Lately, I pick up mint really easily. I don't think it's heavy mint. Yeah, I'm getting mint in everything
for like the last 3 months.
I think it's like the tail end of the alcohol nose that I'm picking up as quote mint. It may not be mint actually.
Could be
just that tail end alcohol that I'm thinking is a slight mint hint.
A mint hint. That should be the title of this. I get a cherry oak bomb for sure. Michael's giving it the old Kentucky chew.
So what would you think? What do you think of this nose?
I like it. Nose? I think it trends sweeter, so I would anticipate I've had this before, so I already kind of have an idea of what I'm pulling into, because I did try this at Kentucky Bourbon Fest before I bought it. But it's.
Were you gonna buy it before you tried it, anyways, or did you try?
I wasn't. I tried it before I bought it. I tried it before I bought it.
Roll Tide.
Roll damn tide. There's the Alabama rubbing off on me. No, I was going to... I mean, I always try to buy the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof if I get a shot, because I know I usually love them. There have been some batches that I don't like as much, but yeah, I was going. I mean, look at the color on this thing. That thing is dark.
Yeah, it is got a little reddish hue to it, even.
Yep. So right off the bat, you definitely feel the heat, but it's not overpowering. For a 133, you would think, "Why is it on fire? My mouth is on fire." But that's not the case with this. It is. I'm not going to call it smooth, but the mouthfeel on it, there's a tingle for sure, but it's not even. I think last week we did Lone Elm, right?
Yes, dude. I don't know if I told you that thing.
That was the identical proof.
That thing torched my tongue. I felt like I had eaten a mouthful of Warheads, and my tongue for like 2 days was done.
Oof. That's not good.
Lemon Warheads, to be more specific.
Lemon Warheads?
Lemon ones.
Those were the best.
Sourest.
No.
Which one was then? Black cherry.
Black cherry was the green apple. Always seemed to get me the most.
Ooh, is your mouth watering now thinking about them?
Yeah. Yep.
What do you get right off the bat?
Oak. It's straight up oak. It's more of a bitter. I thought I was going to get some more sweetness out of it, but it's oak right off the front. I get a little sweet, more confectioner sugar through the middle half of that. And then the finish itself is pretty tame comparative to what I would expect with a 133, right? You would expect it to be hot and heavy through the entire thing. I enjoy this very, very much.
I'm having to control myself from downing this thing because it is delicious. I get this. The finish for me is very fruity, and it just is staying in my mouth here. The roof, everything. It's sticking around for a good time.
Yeah, definitely a lot of cherry after the oak. And I get that baking. I'd say that this matches the nose. It's just not quite as sweet as I think the nose. Like my mouth is real watery right now.
Yeah.
Like Pavlov's dog watery in a way.
So would you say this is complex? Does it have complexity?
In a way, yes, but I don't think it's as complex as a lot of the other things we've had as of late. I think this is pretty simple and to the point, right? It's the same on the nose as it is on the palate for me. Maybe 3-4 notes at most. Sometimes we're like, well, I got this, I got that. Or sometimes they go for more of a roller coaster ride. Like we had a couple where we're like, oh, and then hard right turn and then a hard left turn. I think that this is pretty simple, straightforward. Same thing from front to back and on the nose. I wouldn't call it terribly complex, but I think that it's a very well put bourbon.
It's a classic bourbon roller coaster.
Yes.
You got your start, your mid-tier, and your finish. All a classic. It doesn't have and Barrel Vantage and BRT2 is the most complex ones that I always think of. The finish has multiple aspects to it, where this has a classic bourbon finish.
It's a total classic bourbon. I get a little bit more of that malted barley. There's not as much of a rye presence to it because of the lower rye. Maybe that's why I trend to go towards the Elijah Craig, because I don't mind higher ryes. It's just I think that this hits everything perfectly. So on our Barrels and Barrels of Bourbon and Baseball podcast rating scale, Michael, where do you have batch C923 as I get you? It's just like the perfect timing with a waitress or a waiter walking up to the table at a restaurant. Well, how's everything going?
I almost kind of do it like I'm hoping to get another sip as you're saying all that.
Yeah.
Because I'm in between two levels here.
I know what they are.
They're not DFA and bench. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I know that.
I want to give this guy an all-star.
Boom! Hey now, it's an all-star.
I think it's got enough of a sweetness to it, but it's not overly sweet. That I like. One of my favorite descriptions of something that's perfectly sweet is a marshmallow sweetness to it. Marshmallows aren't overly sweet.
As if like the toasted Elijah Craig would be what you're talking about then.
Yeah. Or the one I just killed it was a Old Forester single barrel strength. Mm-hmm. That one that I had.
You finally did
here in Huntsville. I finally killed it, and I think I waited too long. It had like just like a 1 ounce pour left in it, and I had that in there so long. I think I tainted it a little bit by having that much air to bourbon for a while.
Yeah. Well, it means you just got to go find another one.
That's right. So Brandon. So I went All-Star. Brandon, what do you got this Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923?
All right, buddy. We need to talk here, sir.
Oh no.
I want to let you know that you've made the All-Star team and that you're going to be making the trip. But yeah, I'm going to also go with an All-Star.
Congratulations, C923.
See, the best part is when I tried this the first time, I really loved it, but I was like, that is not exactly what it tastes like, because it was at Kentucky Bourbon Fest and their tasting table was directly in the sun, and this thing had been baking for 3 hours. And when I say it was hot, it wasn't hot as in the alcohol. It was I drank a hot tea, and I was like, what the hell was that? But it was still good and full of flavor. I was just I bet you that's even better at room temperature, and it certainly is. So yeah, and my mouth continues to just water. And it's incredible. That doesn't
makes me want more. Often,
right?
I'm killing this thing.
I need to go. Need to get another pour. I need to get another sip. But yeah, for those of you who are just new to our podcast, if you've never chimed in or listened before, we do our rating scale in a baseball rating scale that starts out right at the top, Hall of Famer. That's the best it can get. Think of all the baseball players that have ever played. 1% make the Hall of Fame, and the best pours you're ever going to have, those are the Hall of Famers. Mikey, you just rated this an All-Star. What's that?
All-Star is those guys just that get selected. They're on every team, and they're kind of the best of their individual teams. Even if every team has to have at least one All-Star by rule. So it's the best of each team. Those are the bottles that you have backups to. Every time you find one, you buy it. And it's one that you only make sure you give to your bourbon aficionados. You're not giving out an All-Star to someone who mixes Blanton's with Coke.
Right. Next goes to everyday player. That is just like the player in your lineup that you have there every day, day in, day out. They may not make the All-Star team, but you can consistently expect them in the lineup and expect them to contribute on a day-to-day basis, giving you their best on an everyday thing. Just like a baseball player, this is something that you always want in your lineup, whether that's on your bar. The moment you're done with it, you go buy another one because, you just have to have another bottle.
Right. And then we got after everyday player is bench player. It's not a knock because bench players have their roles. Whether that's a pinch hit home run, pinch runner, guy out of the bullpen. These can be your dessert bourbons. These can be your really high proof. These can be your ones that have a certain flavor to them that you don't necessarily want to have all that often, but it's something that has its spot on your shelf that you're like, you know what? I could go for that tonight.
And then finally, that DFA stands for designate for assignment. If you know anything about baseball, that means you're kicked off the team. See you later. Go find yourself a new home. So this week, both Michael and I have given this an All-Star. Is that the first time we've both All-Starred something? No, BRT2. BRT2, we both gave an All-Star. But I think this is the second time we've both All-Starred a certain bottle at the same time.
What's that? So
hey, cheers to that, buddy.
Let's go, buddy. Let's go.
There we go. So again, this has been brought to you by Whiskey Tower. So head on over to whiskeytowers.com. 10% off your order if you use the promo code Whiskey Weather at checkout. Again, 10% off a Whiskey Tower. So that's one of the coolest things. I wouldn't put this in a Whiskey Tower. It would go too fast. And yes, overall, a fantastic pour here. As always, the guys over at Heaven Hill, the ladies over at Heaven Hill, what they're doing with Elijah Craig and Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, they knock it out of the ballpark. Is this the best batch we've had?
I think so. I don't think we've reviewed 2 or 3 of the Elijah Craig batches in our 1 year of podcasting. And I think this is the highest rating we've given them.
Yeah, and I'm taking and it's not even that it's 133, and we're snobs when it comes to
just proof, a little bit.
It doesn't sip like a 133 though.
No, I'm killing this thing. I'm not getting torched at all. I just wanted to
say you're gonna be torched later in the podcast.
When you're out shopping for this, if you're new to Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, it's the Barrel Proof, ones that have the batch number on it. It's not the single barrel selects or private selects that you might see at
some
stores.
Of those some of those could be 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. These are more likely going to be closer to 12 years. Right into the microphone.
You saw I tried to mute it.
Yes. I did.